Princess Lyra stood at the large window of the ship, watching the stars move past. She was tall even for her people. At 6 feet and 8 inches, she looked down on most creatures in the galaxy. Her blue skin sparkled like crystal in the ship's lights. Her people, the Zephyrians, were known for being strong and fast. They had thick skin that could stop bullets and muscles that could bend metal. The princess was not happy. She had to travel to the peace talks with humans. Worse, she had to let a human protect her. The very idea made her angry. Humans were weak. Everyone knew this. They were small and soft. Their skin tore easily. They broke bones from simple falls. Why would she need protection from such a weak creature? A soft knock came at her door. "Enter," she said in her deep voice. The door opened and a man walked in. He was average height for a human, maybe 5 feet and 10 inches. He had brown hair and normal clothes. Nothing about him looked special. He did not look strong or fast. He looked like every other human she had seen, weak and breakable. "Princess Lyra," the man said with a small bow. "I am Jake Morrison. I will be your bodyguard during this trip." Lyra looked him up and down. She could not believe what she was seeing. You are supposed to protect me?" Jake nodded. "Yes, Your Highness. I have been trained for this job." Lyra almost laughed. This human looked like he could barely protect himself. Her own guards were twice his size and 3 times as strong. They had natural armor and could fight 10 enemies at once. This human looked like he would fall over in a strong wind, I see, she said slowly. "And what makes you think you can protect someone like me?" Jake's face did not change. "I have been doing this job for 5 years. I know how to keep people safe." The princess walked around him, looking at his thin arms and normal build. "Have you ever fought a Zephyrian warrior?" "No, Your Highness." "Have you ever fought anyone stronger than a human?" "I have fought many different aliens, yes." Lyra stopped in front of him. "Show me your strength." Jake looked confused. "I am sorry." "Show me how strong you are. Lift something heavy. Break something. Prove you are not as weak as you look." Jake looked around the room. He walked to a metal chair and picked it up with both hands. He lifted it over his head and held it there for a few seconds. Then he put it down gently. Lyra was not impressed. She walked to the same chair and picked it up with one hand. She held it out to the side like it weighed nothing. Then she squeezed the metal arm. The thick steel bent like soft clay in her grip. She set the chair down with a loud clang. "That is strength," she said. "What you did was abnormal." Jake nodded. "You are very strong, Your Highness." "And you are very weak," she replied. "I do not understand why my father thinks I need a human bodyguard. You could not protect me from a child of my people." Captain Roy Bennett's voice came over the ship's speaker. "All passengers, we will be entering the neutral zone in 1 hour. Please prepare for possible inspection by patrol ships." Lyra looked at Jake. "Have you ever been in a real fight? Not training. A real fight where people wanted to kill you?" "Many times," Jake said calmly. "And you won these fights?" "I am still alive." The princess shook her head. "Luck, that is all. Or you had better weapons, or more people helping you. There is no way a human could win a fair fight against a real warrior." Over the next few hours, Lyra tested Jake in small ways. She asked him to open a sealed container that required great strength. He did it, but with effort and time. She could have done it in seconds. She dropped her communication device and watched him try to catch it. He was fast for a human, but she could move 3 times quicker. At dinner, she watched him eat. Humans needed to eat often and could not go long without water. Her people could go days without food if needed. They were built for war and survival. Humans were built for nothing special. "Tell me about your training," she said as they ate. Jake put down his fork. "I trained in combat, weapons, protection methods, and alien cultures. The training took 3 years. 3 years to learn what my people learn in 3 months, Lyra said. And I bet you barely passed. I finished in the top of my class, the top of a human class. That means nothing." She leaned back in her chair. "I could train for 3 days and be better than you." Jake did not argue. He just kept eating. Later that night, alarms began to ring throughout the ship. Captain Bennett's voice filled the halls. "All hands to battle stations. Unknown ship approaching. Prepare for possible boarding." Lyra rushed to the command center with Jake close behind. On the main screen, they could see a small ship moving toward them. It had weapons but was much smaller than their diplomatic vessel. "Pirates," Captain Bennett said. "They think we are an easy target. Can we outrun them?" Asked Ambassador Lisa Grant. "No, They are faster than us. The pirate ship moved closer. Warning shots fired across their path. Captain Bennett had no choice but to stop the ship. "This is Captain Vex of the Red Star," came a voice over the radio. "Prepare to be boarded. Do not resist and you will not be hurt." Lyra watched as Jake moved to the weapons storage. He took out a small human pistol and checked it carefully. His hands were steady, but she could see sweat on his face. He was scared. Of course he was scared. He was about to face real pirates with just a small gun. "Stay close to me," Jake told her quietly. "I think you should stay close to me," Lyra replied. She was not scared. These were just pirates, not real warriors. The boarding tube connected to their ship with a loud clang. Heavy footsteps could be heard as armed pirates entered their vessel. Jake moved Lyra behind a control panel and aimed his weapon at the door. 3 pirates entered the command center. They were big, ugly creatures with thick armor and large guns. They looked around and smiled when they saw the humans and one Zephyrian. "Look what we have here," the lead pirate said. "A pretty blue princess and some weak humans." "This will be easy money." Jake fired his weapon. The shot hit the first pirate in the shoulder, spinning him around. The other pirates fired back, forcing Jake and Lyra to take cover. For the next 10 minutes, Jake held them off. He moved carefully from cover to cover, taking shots when he could. He hit 2 more pirates but did not kill any of them. Lyra watched him work. He was calm and smart about his moves. He used the ship's layout to his advantage. But he was still just one human with a small gun against many enemies. Finally, the pirates gave up and returned to their ship. They had not expected this much fight from a diplomatic vessel. As their ship moved away, Jake put down his weapon and checked on everyone. "Is anyone hurt?" he asked. "No," Captain Bennett replied. "Good work, Morrison." Lyra looked at Jake with new eyes. He had fought well for a human, but she knew the only reason they won was because of their ship's strong walls and the pirates' light weapons. In a fair fight, Jake would have lost quickly. "You did well," she told him. "For a human," Jake nodded. "Thank you, Your Highness." But Lyra still believed humans were the weakest species in the galaxy. Jake had proven he was brave and smart, but brave and smart could not make up for being weak and slow. She wondered what would happen when they faced real enemies. Enemies who would not give up so easily. She did not know that everything she believed about humans was wrong. She did not know that Jake was holding back his true abilities. She did not know that the quiet, normal-looking man beside her was far more dangerous than any Zephyrian warrior. She would learn the truth soon enough. 2 days after the pirate attack, Princess Lyra felt safe again. The ship was moving through space toward the peace talks. Jake followed her everywhere, but she barely noticed him anymore. He was quiet and stayed in the background. Sometimes she forgot he was even there. "Your bodyguard is very quiet," said Zara, Lyra's personal aide. Zara was a young Zephyrian with green skin and bright eyes. "He knows his place," Lyra replied. "Humans understand they are not as important as other species." They were in Lyra's room, planning for the peace talks. The princess had to give a speech about working together with humans. She did not like the idea, but her father, the king, had ordered it. "Do you really think peace with humans is a good idea?" Zara asked. Lyra thought about it. "Humans are weak, but they are not stupid. They have good technology and many ships. It is better to have them as friends than enemies. Even weak friends can be useful." A soft alarm rang through the ship. Captain Bennett's voice came over the speaker. "This is a drill. All crew to emergency positions. This is only a drill." Lyra did not move. She had heard many drills before. But Jake appeared in her doorway quickly. His face looked worried. "Your Highness, we should move to the safe room during the drill," he said. "It is just a drill," Lyra replied. "I am not moving for practice." Jake looked uncomfortable. "I think it would be better if we followed safety rules." Lyra waved her hand. "Go away, human." "I am busy." Jake hesitated, then left. But Lyra noticed he did not go far. She could see him in the hallway, talking quietly into his communication device. 30 minutes later, the drill ended. Everything went back to normal. Lyra continued her work and forgot about Jake's strange behavior. That night, Lyra was sleeping when loud explosions woke her up. The ship shook hard, throwing her from her bed. Emergency lights flashed red and alarms rang everywhere. Jake burst into her room without knocking. "We need to go now," he shouted over the noise. "What is happening?" Lyra asked as she got dressed quickly. "We are under attack. Real attack this time." They ran into the hallway. Other passengers were running and screaming. Captain Bennett's voice came over the speakers, but the words were hard to understand because of static. "Who is attacking us?" Lyra asked as they moved toward the safe room. "I do not know yet," Jake replied. He had his weapon out and was looking around every corner carefully. They reached the safe room, but it was empty. No other passengers were there. Jake tried to call Captain Bennett, but no one answered his communication device. "Something is wrong," Jake said. "The safe room should have people in it." Loud footsteps came from the hallway. Many heavy boots walking in formation. These were not passengers running in panic. These were soldiers moving with purpose. Jake pushed Lyra behind a thick table and aimed his weapon at the door. "Stay down and stay quiet," he whispered. 6 large figures entered the safe room. They wore black armor and carried big weapons. But when Lyra saw their faces, her blood turned cold. These were not pirates or common criminals. These were Zephyrian military soldiers. The leader removed his helmet. Lyra recognized him immediately. Commander Vextor, her uncle's most trusted general. He was a huge man, even for a Zephyrian. His dark blue skin was covered in battle scars, and his eyes were cold and angry. "Hello, Princess," Vextor said with a cruel smile. "You should not be here." "Uncle Vextor." Lyra stood up, confused. "What are you doing? Why are you attacking the ship?" "I am saving our people from your father's foolish peace," Vextor replied. "Humans are a disease that will weaken us. They must be stopped." Jake kept his weapon pointed at the soldiers. "Princess, get behind me," he said quietly. Vextor laughed when he saw Jake. "And what is this little human going to do? Shoot us with his toy gun?" "I am her bodyguard," Jake said. His voice was calm, but Lyra could see his hands shaking slightly. "You?" Vextor laughed harder. "A weak human thinks he can protect a Zephyrian princess from Zephyrian warriors? This is the best joke I have heard all year." The other soldiers laughed too. They lowered their weapons, not seeing Jake as a threat. "Princess Lyra," Vextor continued, "you will come with me. We will tell everyone that humans attacked this ship and killed you. This will end the peace talks and start a war. Our people will destroy the weak humans and take their territory." "I will not come with you," Lyra said firmly. "You are a traitor to the king." Vextor's smile disappeared. "Then you will die here with your weak human pet." He raised his weapon toward Lyra. Jake moved quickly, firing his pistol at Vextor. The shot hit the commander's armor and bounced off harmlessly. Vextor turned his weapon toward Jake instead. "Foolish human," Vextor said. "Did you think your little gun could hurt me?" Jake dove to the side as Vextor fired. The energy blast hit the wall behind Jake, leaving a smoking hole. Jake rolled behind another table and fired again. This shot hit one of the soldiers in the shoulder, but again did no real damage through the thick armor. The soldiers spread out around the room, trying to surround Jake and Lyra. Jake moved from cover to cover, firing when he could. But his small weapon was not strong enough to hurt the armored Zephyrians. "This is pathetic," Vextor said. "End this quickly." 2 soldiers moved toward Jake's position. He fired at both of them, but the shots just bounced off their armor. One soldier got close enough to hit Jake with the butt of his rifle. Jake fell hard, rolling across the floor. Lyra watched in growing panic as Jake struggled to get up. Blood ran from a cut on his head. He was breathing hard and moving slowly. The human was clearly outmatched. "You see, Princess?" Vextor said. "This is what happens when you trust humans to protect you. They are weak. They break easily." Jake tried to stand but fell back down. One of the soldiers kicked him in the stomach, making him curl up in pain. "Stop," Lyra shouted. "Leave him alone." "Why do you care about this weak creature?" Vextor asked. "He has already failed you. A real bodyguard would have died fighting, not fallen down like a child." Jake tried to reach for his weapon, but a soldier stepped on his hand. Jake cried out in pain. Lyra could see that his hand was badly hurt. "Please," Jake said, looking up at Vextor. "Just take me. Leave the princess alone." Vextor kicked Jake in the face. "Quiet, human. You have no right to speak here." Lyra felt anger building inside her, not at Vextor, but at the situation. She had been right about humans. They were too weak to protect anyone. Jake had tried his best, but his best was not good enough. Now they would both die because she had trusted a human instead of bringing real guards. "Pick up the princess," Vextor ordered his soldiers. "We are leaving." 2 soldiers moved toward Lyra. She thought about fighting them, but there were too many. Even she could not defeat 6 trained warriors alone. Suddenly, alarms began ringing again. A new voice came over the ship's speakers. "This is Colonel Sam Hayes of the Terran Defense Force." Unknown vessels, you have attacked a diplomatic ship. Surrender immediately or face the consequences. Vextor's face went dark with anger. Humans, he spat. They sent warships to protect their weak diplomats. The ship shook as weapons fire hit it from outside. But this time the shots were not trying to destroy the ship. They were precise hits designed to disable it. Sir, one of Vextor's soldiers said, we need to leave now. The human warships will board us soon. Vextor looked at Jake, who was still lying on the floor, barely moving. Then he looked at Lyra. It seems your weak human friends have come to save you. But it is too late. By the time they get here, you will be dead. He aimed his weapon at Lyra's heart. Goodbye, princess. Your death will start a war that will end humanity forever. Jake tried to move, tried to help, but he was too hurt and too weak. Lyra closed her eyes and waited for the end. But as Vextor's finger tightened on the trigger, Jake did something unexpected. Even though he was badly injured, even though he could barely move, he reached into his pocket and pressed a small button. A high-pitched sound filled the room. Emergency lights began flashing in a new pattern. And somewhere deep in the ship, systems that had been sleeping for Jake's entire assignment began to wake up. Systems that would change everything Lyra thought she knew about humans. Systems that would show her what Jake Morrison really was. But for now, all she knew was that her weak human bodyguard had failed to protect her, and she was about to die because she had trusted the weakest species in the galaxy to keep her safe. The high-pitched sound that Jake had made filled the room for only a few seconds. Then it stopped. Vextor looked confused but kept his weapon aimed at Princess Lyra. What was that noise, human? Vextor demanded. Jake was lying on the floor, blood running from his head. He looked up at Vextor with pain in his eyes. Emergency signal, he said weakly. Help is coming, Vextor laughed. Your human friends cannot save you now. They are too far away. But before Vextor could pull the trigger, new alarms began ringing. These were different from the attack alarms. These were medical emergency signals. Sir, one of Vextor's soldiers said, we should leave now. Something is wrong. Nothing is wrong, Vextor replied. We finish this now. The door to the safe room opened and Dr. Helen Cross ran in. She was a small human woman with gray hair and kind eyes. She carried a medical bag and looked very worried. I heard the emergency medical signal, she said quickly. Then she saw the Zephyrian soldiers with their weapons. Oh no, perfect, Vextor said. Another weak human to kill. But Dr. Cross was not looking at Vextor. She was looking at Jake lying on the floor. Her face went very pale when she saw his condition. You need to let me help him, she said to Vextor. He is badly hurt. He will be dead soon anyway, Vextor replied. You all will. Dr. Cross knelt down next to Jake despite the weapons pointed at her. She opened her medical bag and took out a small device that beeped when she held it over Jake's body. The device beeped faster and faster. Dr. Cross looked at the readings and her eyes went wide with shock. This cannot be right, she whispered. What cannot be right? Lyra asked. Dr. Cross looked up at her, then at Jake, then back at her medical device. These readings? They are impossible. Vextor was getting impatient. Enough talk. Move away from the human, doctor. But Dr. Cross ignored him. She held the medical scanner over different parts of Jake's body. Each time the device gave readings that made her more confused. His bone density is 3 times normal human levels, she said quietly. His muscle fiber composition is unlike anything I have seen. His nervous system is showing responses that should be impossible. What are you talking about? Lyra demanded. Dr. Cross looked at Jake, who was watching her with careful eyes. Jake, she said slowly, your medical file says you are from Earth, but these readings say you are from a high-gravity world. Jake closed his eyes. Doctor, please do not, a high-gravity world. Lyra interrupted. What does that mean? Dr. Cross looked around at all the weapons pointed at them. Then she looked back at Jake. Some humans train on worlds with very high gravity. 10 times stronger than normal Earth gravity. It changes their bodies, makes them stronger and faster, but they have to wear special suits to limit their abilities when they are around normal people. Vextor laughed. Impossible. Humans are weak. Everyone knows this. That is what they want everyone to think, Dr. Cross said quietly. She looked at Jake again. Jake, are you wearing a gravity compensation suit? Jake did not answer, but Lyra saw something in his eyes, something she had never seen before. Not pain or fear, something else. Answer her, Lyra ordered. Jake looked at her for a long moment. Yes, he said finally. I am wearing a compensation suit. What does that mean? Vextor demanded. Dr. Cross stood up slowly. It means Jake has been making himself weaker this whole time. The suit adds artificial weight to his body and slows down his reflexes. It makes him appear normal. Lyra felt like the world was spinning around her. Why would he do that? Because, Dr. Cross said, without the suit he would be too strong, too fast, too dangerous for normal society. Vextor pointed his weapon at Dr. Cross. You are lying. Humans are the weakest species in the galaxy. That is what we tell everyone, Dr. Cross replied. It is easier that way. Jake tried to sit up, wincing in pain. Doctor, you should not have told them. Why not? Lyra asked. Her voice was shaking. Why keep it secret? Jake looked at her with tired eyes. Because if other species knew what humans could really do, they would fear us. Fear leads to war. How many humans are like you? Vextor asked suspiciously. Most humans who work in space, Jake replied. We train on high-gravity worlds before we leave Earth. It prepares us for emergency situations. Lyra felt sick to her stomach. Everything she believed was wrong. You have been lying to me this whole time. I have been protecting you, Jake corrected. That is my job. By pretending to be weak? By being exactly as strong as I need to be? No more, no less. Vextor was getting angry. I do not believe any of this. Humans are weak. I have seen them break from simple falls. You have seen them choose to break, Dr. Cross said. There is a difference. She turned back to Jake. Your compensation suit was damaged when they hit you. The medical scanner shows it is only working at 30% power. Jake's eyes went wide. Doctor, please, what does that mean? Lyra asked. It means, Dr. Cross said slowly, that Jake is currently 3 times stronger and faster than he appears. And if the suit fails completely, she did not finish the sentence. She did not need to. Vextor raised his weapon. Enough of this foolishness. Even if this human is stronger than normal, he is still just one man against 6 warriors. You do not understand, Dr. Cross said desperately. Jake is not just stronger than normal. He is, Doctor, Jake said sharply. Stop, but Dr. Cross continued. He is stronger than any Zephyrian, faster than any Zephyrian. His reflexes are better than anything nature ever created. Vextor laughed. Impossible. I am twice his size. Size does not matter when you have been trained on a world where you weigh half a ton, Dr. Cross replied. Lyra looked down at Jake. He was still lying on the floor, still bleeding, still looking weak and hurt. But now she saw something different in his eyes. Control. He was not weak. He was choosing to be weak. Jake, she said quietly. Is this true? Jake met her eyes. Princess, I have never lied to you. I told you I would protect you. I will, but you let them hurt you. You let them beat you. I let them think they beat me. Jake corrected. There is a difference. Vextor was getting more angry. I have heard enough of this fantasy. If this human is so strong, why is he lying on the floor bleeding? Jake looked up at him calmly. Because I choose to be. Prove it, Vextor challenged. Get up and fight me. Jake closed his eyes. I cannot do that. Because you are weak. Because if I do that, people will get hurt. People I am supposed to protect. Lyra felt tears in her eyes. Not from fear, but from shame. She had spent days mocking this human for being weak. She had tested him and insulted him and treated him like he was worthless. And all the time he had been holding back power that could have crushed her without effort. Jake, she whispered. I am sorry. Jake looked at her with surprise. You have nothing to be sorry for, Princess. Yes, I do. I called you weak. I said humans were worthless. I treated you like you were nothing. You treated me exactly as I wanted you to, Jake replied. If you had known the truth, you would have been afraid of me. I do not want people to be afraid. Vextor fired his weapon into the ceiling. Enough talk. Human, get up and fight me or I will kill the princess. Jake looked at Vextor, then at Lyra, then at Dr. Cross. Something changed in his face. The pain was still there, but behind it was something else. Something that made Lyra's skin crawl with sudden fear. Doctor, Jake said very quietly, can you fix my compensation suit? Not here, not now, Dr. Cross replied. It would take hours. Then you need to move away from me, Jake said. All of you. What? Lyra asked. Jake looked at her one more time. Princess, I am sorry. I tried to do this the easy way. Do what? Jake reached toward his belt. Vextor saw the movement and pointed his weapon at Jake's head. "Do not move, human." But Jake did not stop. His fingers found a small button on his belt. He looked up at Vextor with eyes that suddenly seemed very, very dangerous. "I quit," Jake said, and he pressed the button. When Jake pressed the button on his belt, nothing seemed to happen at first. He was still lying on the floor, still bleeding, still looking hurt and weak. Vextor laughed. "What was that supposed to do, human? Call for help?" Jake slowly pushed himself up to a sitting position. His movements were careful and controlled. "That was the emergency release for my compensation suit," he said quietly. "So what?" Vextor replied. "You are still just one small human." Jake stood up. The movement was smooth and easy, like he was not hurt at all. The blood was still on his face, but his eyes were clear and focused. "Princess," Jake said without looking away from Vextor, "you asked me once to show you my strength." Lyra backed away from him. Something about Jake had changed. He looked the same, but he felt different. Dangerous. "I told you that you would not like what you saw." Jake continued. "I was trying to protect you from this." Vextor raised his weapon. "Enough talk. I will end this now." He fired his energy weapon at Jake's chest. The blast was powerful enough to kill any normal person instantly. Jake moved. Lyra's eyes could barely follow what happened. One moment Jake was standing still, the next moment he was 3 feet to the left. The energy blast hit the wall behind where he had been standing. "How did you?" Vextor started to say. Jake moved again. This time he was behind one of the other soldiers. Before the soldier could turn around, Jake hit him once in the back of the neck. The soldier fell down and did not get up. The other soldiers tried to aim their weapons, but Jake was already moving again. He flowed around the room like water, always one step ahead of their weapons. His movements were smooth and perfect like a dance. Another soldier fired at Jake. Jake caught the energy blast with his bare hand. Everyone in the room stopped moving. Even Vextor stared in shock. Jake held the ball of energy in his palm for a moment, then threw it back at the soldier who had fired it. The blast hit the soldier's weapon, destroying it completely. "That is impossible," Vextor whispered. "No," Jake said calmly. "That is physics. When you train in 10 times normal gravity, your body learns to move very quickly. Your reflexes become fast enough to see energy weapons fire and avoid them." He moved toward another soldier. The soldier tried to hit Jake with the butt of his rifle. Jake caught the weapon in mid-swing and bent the metal barrel into a knot with his bare hands. "Your weapons are designed to fight normal humans," Jake explained as he gently pushed the soldier away. The soldier stumbled backward and fell down. "They are not designed to fight humans like me." Vextor fired his weapon again and again. Each time Jake was not where the blast went. He moved around the room, avoiding every shot without seeming to try very hard. "Stand still and fight me," Vextor roared. "I am fighting you," Jake replied. "I am just not trying to hurt you." Princess Lyra watched in amazement as Jake moved between the 6 Zephyrian soldiers like they were standing still. Every time one of them tried to hit him, he was somewhere else. Every time they fired their weapons, he avoided the blasts easily. But Jake was not just avoiding them. He was slowly, carefully making them unable to fight. He bent their weapons, pushed them down, or hit them in places that made them fall asleep. He never hit them hard enough to really hurt them. "Why are you not killing them?" Lyra asked. Jake paused in his movement to look at her. "Because they are not evil. They are just following orders from someone they trust. They do not deserve to die for that." In that moment of distraction, Vextor managed to get close to Jake. The commander was huge and strong, even for a Zephyrian. He grabbed Jake around the waist and tried to crush him. "Got you, human," Vextor said with a cruel smile. Jake looked down at the massive arms wrapped around him. Then he placed his hands on Vextor's wrists and gently pulled them apart. The commander's grip, which could crush steel, opened like it was nothing. "Commander Vextor," Jake said politely, "please let go of me." Vextor tried to punch Jake in the face. Jake caught the punch in his open palm. Vextor's fist, which could break through armor, stopped completely when it hit Jake's hand. "I do not want to hurt you," Jake said. "But you are making this very difficult." Vextor pulled out a knife and tried to stab Jake. Jake caught his wrist and squeezed gently. The knife fell from Vextor's hand as his fingers went numb. "How are you so strong?" Vextor demanded. "I told you," Jake replied. "High gravity training. When you weigh half a ton every day for 3 years, normal gravity makes you very light and very fast." Jake spun Vextor around and held him in a position where the commander could not move. It looked effortless. Your people are naturally strong, Jake continued, but my people become strong through training. We push our bodies beyond what nature intended. Dr. Cross was checking on the soldiers Jake had defeated. They are all alive, she called out. Just unconscious or stunned. Of course they are, Jake replied. I told you I do not want to hurt anyone. Lyra walked closer to Jake, staring at him in wonder. All this time you could have done this? Yes. When the pirates attacked, you could have stopped them in seconds? Yes. When I tested your strength, you were holding back? Yes. When I called you weak, when I said humans were worthless, you could have shown me I was wrong? Jake looked at her with sad eyes. Yes, but if I had done that, you would have been afraid of me. Everyone is afraid when they learn what humans can really do. Are all humans like you? Most of the humans who work in space, yes. We have to be ready for emergencies. Lyra thought about all the times she had seen humans in her life. All the times she thought they looked weak and fragile. How many people know about this? The human government knows. Some alien governments know, but most regular people do not. We think it is better that way. Why? Jake adjusted his hold on Vextor, keeping the commander immobilized without hurting him. Because if everyone knew how strong humans could be, they would see us as a threat. They would fear us instead of working with us. Fear leads to war. So you pretend to be weak? We choose to appear normal. We use our strength only when we have to protect people. Vextor struggled in Jake's grip but could not move. This changes nothing. Humans are still a disease that will weaken the galaxy. No, Jake said quietly. Humans are people who choose to be gentle when they could choose to be violent. That is not weakness. That is wisdom. Lyra looked around the room at the defeated soldiers. Jake had stopped 6 trained Zephyrian warriors without seriously hurting any of them. He could have killed them all in seconds, but he chose not to. Jake, she said slowly, I owe you an apology. No, you do not. Yes, I do. I spent days insulting you and your people. I called you weak and worthless. I was completely wrong. Jake smiled at her. Princess, you believed what you were supposed to believe. That was the point. But now I know the truth. Now you know one truth. The real truth is that strength is not about how much you can lift or how fast you can move. Strength is about choosing to protect people instead of hurting them. Captain Bennett's voice came over the ship's speakers. All clear. Boarding teams have secured the ship. Medical teams to all sections. Dr. Cross looked at Jake. You should put your compensation suit back on. The other humans who board this ship will not know you have been authorized to remove it. Jake nodded and pressed the button on his belt again. Immediately his movements became slower and more careful. He gently released Vextor, who fell to his knees. What did you do to me? Vextor demanded. Nothing permanent, Jake replied, his voice slightly strained now. You will be fine in a few hours. Human soldiers entered the room, led by a tall man with colonel's rank on his uniform. Jake Morrison, the colonel said. Report. Situation secure, Colonel Hayes, Jake replied. 6 prisoners, no serious injuries. Colonel Hayes looked around the room at the unconscious Zephyrian soldiers. You did this alone? The princess helped, Jake said, looking at Lyra. Lyra felt her face get warm. She had not helped at all. She had just watched in amazement. Jake, she said quietly. Thank you. Just doing my job, Your Highness. But Lyra knew it was more than that. Jake had not just protected her body. He had shown her that everything she thought she knew about humans was wrong. They were not weak. They were not worthless. They were the strongest people in the galaxy, and they chose to be gentle. That was not weakness. That was the most powerful thing she had ever seen. 3 days after the attack, Princess Lyra stood in front of a large room filled with diplomats from many different worlds. The peace talks were finally beginning. But everything had changed for her. She looked out at the crowd and saw humans sitting next to Zephyrians, both species trying to work together. Before the attack, she had thought this was foolish. Humans were too weak to be real partners. Now she knew the truth. Jake stood behind her, quiet and still as always. He was wearing his compensation suit again, making himself appear normal and harmless. But Lyra could not forget what she had seen. Under that calm, gentle appearance was more power than any creature in this room could imagine. Princess Lyra, the moderator called, you may begin your speech. Lyra walked to the speaking platform. She had prepared a speech about working with humans for trade and mutual benefit. Standard diplomatic words that meant little, but as she looked out at the crowd, she decided to say something different. 3 days ago, she began, I almost died. The room became very quiet. This was not how diplomatic speeches usually started. I was attacked by members of my own species, Zephyrian soldiers who believed that humans were too weak to be our allies. They thought humans would make us soft and defenseless. She paused and looked back at Jake. He gave her a small nod of encouragement. I believed the same thing, Lyra continued. I thought humans were the weakest species in the galaxy. I thought they were fragile and useless. I was completely wrong. Murmurs went through the crowd. Many aliens in the audience nodded in agreement. They also thought humans were weak. The human who saved my life, Lyra said, is stronger than any Zephyrian warrior I have ever met. He is faster than our best athletes. He could have killed 6 trained soldiers in seconds. The murmurs grew louder. Some aliens looked confused. Some looked worried. But he did not kill them, Lyra said, raising her voice. He defeated them without seriously hurting any of them. He chose to be gentle when he could have chosen to be violent. She walked closer to the edge of the platform, looking directly at the audience. This is what I learned about humans. They are not weak. They choose to appear weak. They limit their own strength so that others will not fear them. They make themselves vulnerable so that we can feel safe. Ambassador Lisa Grant looked surprised. This was not what they had discussed for Lyra's speech. Why do they do this? Lyra asked the audience. Why would the strongest species in the galaxy pretend to be the weakest? She paused, letting the question hang in the air. Because they understand something that we do not. True strength is not about how much damage you can do. True strength is about how much damage you choose not to do. An alien diplomat from the Rigel system stood up. Princess, are you saying that humans have been lying to us about their capabilities? No, Lyra replied. I am saying they have been protecting us from their capabilities. There is a difference. Another alien, a tall creature with gray skin, raised his hand. If humans are so strong, why should we not fear them? Why should we not see them as a threat? Lyra looked back at Jake again. He was standing very still, his face calm and peaceful. No one looking at him would guess that he could tear apart this entire room if he wanted to. Because, Lyra said, in all the time humans have been part of the galactic community, when have they used their strength to conquer others? When have they taken territory by force? When have they used their power to make others serve them? The room was quiet. Many aliens looked thoughtful. Never, Lyra continued. Humans have used their strength only to protect others, to help in disasters, to defend the weak. They have had the power to rule the galaxy, and they have chosen instead to serve it. She walked back to the center of the platform. My attackers said that peace with humans would make us weak. They were wrong. Peace with humans will make us stronger, not because they will fight our battles for us, but because they will teach us what real strength looks like. Ambassador Grant was smiling now. This was better than any speech they had planned. The Zephyrian Empire, Lyra announced, wishes to propose a new level of cooperation with humanity, not as the strong helping the weak, but as equals learning from each other. The human delegation looked surprised but pleased. Colonel Hayes, who was sitting with the military advisors, nodded approvingly. We propose joint training programs, Lyra continued, where humans can teach other species about controlled strength and peaceful power. We propose research partnerships where we can learn together. We propose a friendship based on mutual respect, not on fear or pity. She looked directly at the human delegation. Humans have shown us that the greatest power is knowing when not to use your power. That is a lesson every species in this galaxy needs to learn. The room erupted in discussion. Some aliens seemed excited by the proposal. Others looked worried or confused. But everyone was talking, and that was better than the cold silence that had filled these talks before. After the speech, Lyra walked back to where Jake was waiting. How did I do? She asked him. Very well, Your Highness, Jake replied, though I think you may have surprised some people. Good. They needed to be surprised. Jake looked concerned. Princess, are you sure you want to reveal human capabilities? My people have kept this secret for good reasons. Lyra thought about this carefully. Jake, can I ask you something? Of course. How many humans are there who are trained like you? Jake hesitated. I cannot give exact numbers, but most humans who work in space have some level of high-gravity training. So there are millions of humans with abilities like yours? Yes. And they all choose to hide their strength? Yes, Lyra shook her head in amazement. Jake, do you realize what this means? There are millions of people in the galaxy who could be heroes, but they choose to be invisible instead. We choose to be helpful without being threatening, Jake corrected. But imagine what you could accomplish if you did not have to hide. Imagine how many people you could save, how many problems you could solve if everyone knew what humans were capable of. Jake looked uncomfortable. Princess, when people know you are strong, they expect you to solve all their problems for them. They stop trying to solve problems themselves. Or, Lyra said, they learn from your example and become stronger themselves. She put her hand on his shoulder. Jake, I spent my whole life thinking my people were the strongest in the galaxy. I was proud of our strength, but I never thought about how to use it wisely. You have shown me that real strength comes with real responsibility. Jake smiled. That sounds like something my training instructor used to say. Your instructor was wise. That evening, Lyra sat in her room writing a message to her father, the king. She told him about the attack, about Jake's rescue, and about what she had learned. She recommended that Zephyrian warriors begin training with human instructors, not to learn how to be stronger, but to learn how to be wise. Jake knocked on her door. Princess, may I come in? Of course. Jake entered and stood formally by the door. I wanted to thank you for what you said today. I should be thanking you. You saved my life. You did more than that, Jake said. You gave humans a chance to stop hiding. That is a gift my people have wanted for a long time, but we were too afraid to ask for it. Lyra stood up and walked to him. Jake, can I ask you one more question? Yes. Are you afraid? Now that people know what humans can really do. Jake thought about this for a moment. A little. Change is always scary, but I think it is time. Humans have been hiding long enough. What will happen now? I do not know. Maybe other species will want to learn from us. Maybe some will fear us, but at least now we can be honest about who we are. Lyra nodded. Honesty is better than lies, even when honesty is scary. Yes, Jake agreed. Though I think I will miss being underestimated. It made my job easier. Lyra laughed. I promise I will never underestimate humans again. And I promise, Jake said, that humans will never abuse the trust you have shown us today. As Jake left her room, Lyra looked out at the stars. Tomorrow the peace talks would continue, but they would be different now. Instead of the strong protecting the weak, they would be about the wise teaching the unwise. About different species learning from each other. She thought about Jake, wearing his compensation suit again, making himself appear normal so that others would feel comfortable around him. Soon he and others like him might not have to hide anymore. They could be themselves, strong and gentle, powerful and wise. That would be good for everyone. Because the galaxy needed heroes who chose to be humble. It needed strength that came with kindness. It needed humans who understood that the greatest power was knowing when not to use your power. Princess Lyra had learned that lesson from a quiet human bodyguard, who she had once thought was weak. Now she would spend the rest of her life teaching it to others. Because some truths were too important to keep secret, and some people were too valuable to stay hidden in the shadows. The age of humans pretending to be weak was ending. The age of humans teaching others to be strong was about to begin, and that would change everything.